Welcome to this episode of English.youtube, where we dive into some interesting English words and phrases. But before we get started, a quick heads up. This episode contains some foul language. If you're sensitive to strong language or listening with younger ears, feel free to skip this episode or listen later. Today, we're exploring phrases like go unscathed, put it past someone, intervene, and through thick and thin. These phrases are commonly used in everyday conversation, and they can add a lot of color and depth to your English vocabulary. Let's jump in.
I wouldn't put anything past him.
Right.
We're also joined by Frank Smiley, who's here to help us out navigate these waters and maybe intervene if a fist fight should break out.
The first expression is not put it past someone to do something. In the podcast you hear, I wouldn't put it past him. It means that I wouldn't be surprised. To not be surprised if someone does something bad because it is a typical thing for that person to do. Perhaps Helena told him, I wouldn't put it past her. I wouldn't be surprised if she did it.
I wouldn't put anything past him.
Right.
Intervene or intervene means to intentionally become involved in a difficult situation in order to improve it or prevent it from getting worse. So in the podcast you hear somebody is going to intervene if a fist fight should break out. So it means that if they start hitting each other, if they start punching each other, that person will intervene and will prevent the fight. And obviously a fist fight means a fight between people using their hands but no weapons.
I could have lost my job at any point, but still stuck with you through thick and thin.
So you're saying that anyone who performed even the most negligible task...
In the podcast we hear, I stuck with you through thick and thin. Thick and thin. It means that if you support or stay with someone through thick and thin, you always support or stay with them, even if there are problems or difficulties. She has stuck with me through thick and thin. And another word that we hear is negligible. Negligible means too slight or small in amount to be of importance. It means it can be neglected. The difference between the two products is negligible.
It does feel a little like we're in kind of neo-feudalistic times where there's highwaymen that you have to contend with when you go out, and everything's a little more fragile. And
so you know highwaymen, right? People who steal from travelers, highwaymen. And he says that we have to contend with these highwaymen. It means that you have to deal with them. So contend with something means that you have to deal with a difficult or unpleasant situation. Like at the age of 9, he had the death of both parents to contend with.
I think he's fucking missing out. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of shit I can say that you're missing out on, and I don't care if you miss out.
Also, you have to be missing out. Otherwise, you don't have a life.
Yeah.
How much information do you think you can absorb in a day? How much things you can watch and listen to?
Miss out. If you miss out on something, you fail to use an opportunity to enjoy or get an advantage from something. And to be fair, there are always things in life that we miss out on. Because as you heard in the podcast, we don't have a lot of time to just absorb everything.
After a while, I might just get cranky. I just feel like I want to indulge and just get some sugar in you. And feel like
moderation.
Feeling like shit has its good points.
Indulgence has its good points.
Yeah, when you feel like you're like, oh, what the fuck did I do that for? When you hit the bottom, there's a comfort in that. It's a bed. The bottom is like a bed. Do you know what I mean?
The first interesting word in this segment was cranky. If you're cranky, you're bad-tempered, you're easily annoyed or upset. He's been cranky all day. And this one is an even more interesting word, indulge. Indulge in something or indulge It means to allow yourself or another person to have something enjoyable, especially more than is good for you. For example, I love champagne, but I don't often indulge myself or indulge in something. We took a deliberate decision to indulge in a little nostalgia. So what we hear is to hit the bottom. It means to reach an extremely low point in your life. And he says that there is a comfort to hitting the bottom.
I was talking to my Blanche, my French pal, and I said, life is a zero-sum game. It's something I believe is it's a zero-sum game. That effort you put in and it comes back, but you end up at zero.
Right.
She said, for a lot of people, life is about a negative 500-sum game.
So he's saying that life is a zero-sum game, which means that whatever you achieve, you will lose, and then you will end up at zero. It's a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
And it's true. Some people, everything they can possibly do, they end up so fucked.
Yeah.
Just fucked for good, and it's just life is fucked.
And because of that, you have this attitude that life is fucked. So then that's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
What is a self-fulfilling prophecy? A self-fulfilling prophecy is a situation in which something happens because you expected or said it would happen. So if you think that life is gonna suck, your life is gonna suck, because this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sales predictions determine how a book is published, and a prediction of poor sales is often a self-fulfilling prophecy.
You know, the kind of things that go down in history of extraordinary moments, but I see them all the time. If you ride the subway, you see people take a bit of abuse and go like, okay, you go ahead. Like those moments you go, well, you just saved the world, buddy. You just, in your own circle.
Go down in history, or go down as or in something, means to be remembered or recorded in a particular way. For example, Hurricane Katrina will go down as one of the worst storms of this century. Or he doesn't want to go down in the record books as the guy who walked away from his main responsibility.
Yeah, I got asked once by a lady. These two guys were fighting, and they were thinking about removing the guys from the plane because one guy had put his bag above this other guy's seat. And the other guy goes, hey, man, that's for my seat. And he's like, no, it's first come, first serve. He's like, no, fuck you. And then they were like, fuck you. No, fuck you. And then the lady had to come in and go, hey, like, I will fucking kick both of you guys off the plane.
Yeah, this is before you took off.
Before we took off. She goes, do we have an understanding? And they go, yeah. And then she comes to me. She goes, hey, if anything goes down, you're going to help, right?
She deputized you?
She deputized me.
Okay, this time we have another meaning of the word go down. If something goes down, it means, especially an event such as a crime or a deal, when it goes down, we mean that it happens. So the woman told him, if anything goes down, which means that if anything happens, you will help me. And then he said, she deputized you. You know the word deputy? So here we have deputized, like assigning someone some responsibility.
I can't get my head around that there's I always think it's something that's bothering them. I can't get my head around somebody who's just like
well, some people think you have to be that way to get ahead. You have to be a dick to get ahead. Like there's people that have that mentality.
Right, and there's people that feel comfortable if they can do that.
So to get your head around or round something means to manage to understand something. And he says, I can't get my head around that, which means I don't understand it. And to get ahead means to be successful in the work that you do. In the podcast you hear, some people think that you have to be that way to get ahead. Like to get ahead in something means to be successful in that thing. It's tough for a woman to get ahead in politics.
And he comes over and he goes, you want to go out right now? I'll fucking kick the shit out. He's smaller than me, but he's wiry. And I'm like, I'm scared. I was terrified. Because I don't want to fight this kid. Even if I win, I'm not going to like go unscathed. I don't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
I don't want to be punched in the face. I don't want any of this to happen. And he's standing above me, and he's like, "You want to fucking go?" And I was just like, "No, I don't."
Wiry. If we call somebody wiry, we mean that they are thin but strong and often able to bend easily. Go unscathed. Unscathed means without injury or damage being caused. Example, her husband died in the accident, but she amazingly escaped unscathed, or she went unscathed. So if you get into a fight, chances are you will not go unscathed.